Have you ever wondered who buried the holy body of Imam Hussain? How were the martyrs, whose bodies were separated from their heads, identified and buried? Stay with us in this video to find out how and by whom the martyrs of Karbala were buried. On the day of Ashura in the 61st year of the Hijri calendar, after the martyrdom of Imam Hussain, peace be upon him, the soldiers of Umar ibn Sa'd stripped him of his clothes and looted them. Then they attacked the tents of the al-Bayt and plundered their belongings and set the tents on fire. Afterwards, the head of Imam Hussain was separated from his blessed body. And finally, on the orders of Umar ibn Sa'd, horses were ridden over the pure bodies of the Imam and his companions, crushing their bones. The al-Bayt of Imam Hussain, without having the opportunity to bury the martyrs of Karbala, were forced to move towards Sham, along with Umar ibn Sa'd's army, while the dismembered and blood-stained bodies of the Imam and his companions remained on the ground. At that time, there was a village near Karbala called Al-Ghadiriyah, where a number of the Banu Asad tribe lived. It is said that after the event of Karbala, the men of the village of Ghadiriyah, at the insistence of their wives, came to the place where the lifeless bodies of Imam Hussain and his companions were, and they prayed over the pure bodies of the Imam and his companions and buried them. But there is a very important question. How did the men who were not even present in Karbala manage to identify the dismembered and decapitated bodies of the Karbala martyrs? How did they manage to separate the headless body of Imam Hussain and the torn body of Abbas from the other headless bodies of the martyrs? I must say that except for Hur ibn Yazid al-Riyahi, none of the other Karbala martyrs had their heads attached to their bodies, and this made the identification of the Karbala martyrs impossible. On the other hand, according to the Shia belief, only an imam can perform the funeral prayer on the lifeless body of the previous imam and bury him. After the martyrdom of Imam Hussain, the position of imamate passed on to his son, Imam Sajjad. Given the things we have mentioned, Imam Sajjad, who did not participate in the Battle of Karbala due to illness, should have performed the funeral prayer on the body of Imam Hussain, peace be upon him, and buried him. But how? Imam Sajjad was transferred to Kufa on the 11th of Muharram by the soldiers of Umar ibn Sa'd while he was suffering from an illness. According to the narrations, one day Ali ibn Abi Hamza went to Imam Reza, peace be upon him, and told him that it has been narrated from your forefathers that only an imam like himself can perform the burial of an imam. Imam Reza responded by asking, "Tell me, was Hussein ibn Ali an imam or not?" Ali ibn Abi Hamza replied, "Yes, he was an imam." The imam then asked, "Who buried him?" Ali ibn Abi Hamza answered, "Ali ibn al-Hussein, Imam Sajjad, buried him." The imam then asked, "Where was Ali ibn al-Hussein at that time?" Ali ibn Abi Hamza replied that Ali ibn al-Hussein was a captive in Kufa, but he secretly went out from among the captives, carried out the burial rites of his father, and then returned. Likewise, Imam al-Sadiq, peace be upon him, narrates, one day the wife of Prophet Muhammad, Salama, woke up crying from her sleep. When asked why she was crying, she said, "Hussein was killed last night." Salama continued, "I had not seen my Prophet since his passing in a dream, until last night when I saw the Prophet distressed and grieved. In the dream, I asked him what happened. The Prophet said, 'Tonight, I was preparing graves for Hussein and his companions.'" Ibn Shahr Ashub Mazandarani also says that the inhabitants of Qasiriyah, who were from the Bani Asad tribe, buried the bodies of Hussein and his companions a day after their martyrdom, while graves had already been prepared for most of them, and white birds were seen beside the graves. It has also been mentioned that the Bani Asad people were confused and bewildered in burying the martyrs of Karbala because the people of Kufa had separated the heads from the bodies of the martyrs, and the bodies were not recognizable. At this moment, Imam Sajjad, peace be upon him, came to Karbala and assisted them in carrying out this important task. The narrator says, "I saw Imam Sajjad, peace be upon him, being taken from Medina to Sham, Damascus, by the agents of Abdullah ibn Marwan. Abdullah had ordered that the Imam be chained and had stationed many heavily armed guards to keep watch over the Imam. I asked them for permission to speak with the Imam for a few moments. When I saw the Imam chained, I was overcome with grief and said, "I wish I was in your place." The Imam said, "Do you think these things upset me? If I wished, none of these would exist. The reason for my patience is that you and people like you may become aware, and I myself want these to remind me of God's punishment." Then, he easily freed his hands and feet from the chains and said, "I will only be with these chains for 2 more stops, and after that I will no longer be with them." After reaching the second stop, the Imam disappeared from sight. The guards returned to Medina and searched for the Imam, but could not find him. They even interrogated me, and one of them said to me, "We saw the Imam in front of us, and we were all watching him from behind. He got off the vehicle, and we were all around him, not neglecting him for a moment and not sleeping. But when morning came, we no longer saw the Imam, and only the chains and shackles were left behind." Based on the narrations we have discussed, and since it is mentioned in verse 40 of Surah An-Naml that one of Prophet Suleiman's companions, named Asif bin Barkia, was able to present Suleiman's throne in the blink of an eye, we conclude that Imam Sajjado was also able to use the power of Ta'i al-Ard, or traversing the earth, to reach the bloody battlefield of Karbala once again, and with the help of the residents of the village of Khazariya, he buried the martyrs. However, the residents of Khazariya either did not notice Imam Sajjad's presence, or they saw him but did not recognize him. We thank you for being with us up to this point. Finally, I suggest you do not miss these 2 videos. Please share your thoughts on this page with us.